100. PRN's coverage begins at 1 p.m. Catch it all right here on Lake Norman's home for NASCAR. WSIC. Local starts here. Racing lives here.
Join the Harbor Hippos family. It's not just a game, it's a community. Join the fun this summer at Huntersville Athletic Park. From single tickets to season passes and sponsorship opportunities, we've got something for everyone. Visit harborhippos.com to get your tickets and gear today. Opening day is May 30th. Don't miss out.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here, 4 o'clock hour on a Thursday. If you're a 9 to 5er, you got 53 minutes, 23 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell. And I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here as we give attention to all things economic, financial. We're looking at things all over the globe. We're going to be doing it again here today. Lots happening. I feel like I say that every week. I guess I should because it's always true. But certainly a lot happening here over the last week. We're going to be spending a lot of time on it, looking at things that are happening around the globe, certainly here in this country when we're looking at the markets. But we also seek to break it down to an individual level, hopefully talking about some things, some subjects here that are pertinent either to your financial situation or to friends, family, colleagues, all that good kind of stuff. But in doing so, you recall as a previous listener to Dollars and Cents that nothing that we're talking about here is intended as a specific recommendation for you, meaning that even though we're going to be talking about these kinds of things, and I'll tell you in advance, we're going to be looking at companies, we're going to be looking at particular strategies, those things which have been working well in the market, maybe some of those things which haven't been working all that well in the market, that again, in doing so, recognize that everybody's situation is unique. We strongly, strongly recommend that you reach out to your tax advisor, to your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group, love to hear from you. Love to chat about your particular financial situation, see if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street. Financial.com. NorthMainFinancial.com. We have a contact page on there. Leave us an email address, phone number. Let us know if that phone number, if you like text messages. I feel like my folks say I have to say this now because there are some folks who leave phone numbers, and of course I think about, well, I guess we still do pick up the phones. We don't pick it up off a cradle anymore, but we still pick up our phones. At least some of us do if we don't have a wireless headset of some kind. And in doing so, but I also recognize, and I've continued to be informed that sometimes a phone number means it's preferable to have a text message. So if you'd like that, let us know on that contact page, again, at northmainfinancial.com. And you're also welcome to call us here in the studio. I got producer CJ working in the booth there, along with Wild Bill. I mean, we're ready. If you want to, 844-STUDIO-4, 844-788-3464 here in the studio. If you have a question, you know me, I'm not the hot stock tip guy. And frankly, if you hear me starting to give hot stock tips, you probably should run in the other direction. So don't be calling in asking what the hot stock tip is. Or if you do, just know that whatever I'm going to tell you, you probably should just literally go in something completely different. But you're welcome to do it if you have a particular question. Can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to get into today's show, but certainly if we can work it in, and if it's not this week, promise you it'll be next week. Again, 844-STUDIO-4, 844-788-3464 here in the studio. All right, let's run into it. I mean, tremendous amount going on here. And like I said, I get excited about this kind of stuff. We're in the back third of the earnings season, so we still got a bunch of companies. A lot of folks, if you're watching business news, probably have called this bank week. Because some of our almost all of our big money center banks have had their earnings reports here this week. And I have to say, especially with the concentration of banks here in the Carolinas, I'm looking specifically at North Carolina here and then in a hyper-focused kind of way on Charlotte. I mean, we are the second largest financial center here in the nation. I mean, it's only New York that has a higher concentration of financial institutions and bank/investment wealth that exceeds Charlotte. So lots of reason for folks to be paying attention to these kinds of things. Also, because the two large banks here in Charlotte, two of the largest employers in the region. So very, very big impact. Yes, I'm looking at you, Bank of America, and I'm also looking at you, Wells Fargo, formerly Wachovia. And I still have to say that. I know it's been 15 plus years. I still think of Wachovia in that space here. But both had earnings this past week, and a mixed bag. Really have to call it that way, I think, because one was certainly in a not so positive kind of reflection. The other was in a very positive kind of reflection. Start with Wells Fargo, ticker symbol Walter Frank Charlie, WFC. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the debt or the equity in Wells Fargo there. Not good. And I say that, and you can see me if you're watching on the socials. Which, by the way, if you're watching on the socials, slip on over to that app store, either the Google store or the Apple store. Get on there, get the WSIC app. Real easy to do. I love to use it when I travel. Get on over there, download the app. Not only can you get the live feeds here and see what's happening on the live feed right here in the studio, but you can also listen to. And if you miss a show, I know you're probably wanting to listen to some of these back shows of Dollars and Cents. I get it. Right? You got to build up that knowledge base when it comes to your financial situation, but you can do that at any time when you download the WSIC app. But in looking at it again, talking Wells Fargo here, not positive. And it's not because it's a recommendation either to buy or sell or hold Wells Fargo, as I said. It's nothing like that, but definitely not positive. And Wells Fargo's they've had a run of it. When I say they've had a run of it, they've had some very, very challenging circumstances here over the last, I have to say, number of years. I was going to say a couple of years, but it's been more than that. Definitely from investigations from the Department of Banking, Department of Justice, those kinds of things. They've had a lot on their plate. And this most recent quarterly report, it just wasn't inspiring. The market didn't love it all that much, and so Wells Fargo is still climbing uphill with regards to their business operations. And I got to say, pretty much exactly the opposite about Bank of America. I mean, they came out. Brian Moynihan, CEO, was on all of the major news programs that I saw. Their 10Q looked great. I mean, the 10Q is a quarterly report filed with the SEC. Each quarter by every publicly traded company, or at least should be filed every quarter by every publicly traded company. They look great. It just did. I mean, it was across the board. When you're looking at net interest margins, when you're looking at loan strength, meaning not only the performance of the loans they have on the books, but for new origination. That's redundant, excuse me. For new loans that they have that are coming on the books, they're very strong in terms of new loans that are produced and their performance, and then also on the investment banking end of things. And most especially, I'm looking at what was the old Merrill Lynch that Bank of America acquired there back in the 08-09 financial crisis. I mean, the old Merrill Lynch end of things, which is now part of B of A. I mean, very strong. Very, very strong. It was impressive. I mean, and with a company the size of Bank of America, and this is true for most of our mega cap or our largest size companies, you got to be a little bit leery about sounding too confident. You also you don't have to get too crazy on the downside either, because you just have to. There's just huge ramifications. They can move the market not only for their company but for the entire financial sector. Really impressive. I mean, and again, Moynihan, the CEO, coming out sounding very upbeat, not only with regards to this past quarter, but in their outlook here for the next couple of quarters, talking about the consumer. I mean, one of the things we're going to be talking about this here in a couple of our later segments, a little bit of a teaser. I want you to hang around, but we're going to be talking about very confident on the consumer. And I have some other data here, especially when we're talking about budget kinds of things, debt kinds of things, housing kinds of things, not particularly as robust, looking at where the consumer is. So it's very interesting that a player as large as Bank of America, with so many touch points, everything from checking and savings, deposit accounts to loans, lines of credit, certainly commercial lending. I mean, they're hitting it all. Investment banking. I mean, they're hitting pretty much all of the aspects of a consumer or retail spending bank relationship that they're so confident on their end of things. So we're going to be watching them closely. We're going to see if they happen to be on target. Maybe not. Maybe they will be. I hope they are. Certainly hope that consumer stays strong. That's good for our economy because, as you remember, about 2/3, 3/4 of our economy is consumer spending. We like to spend. But before we do that, we're going to hear from our sponsors. Going to be coming back here in just a few seconds here on Dollars and Cents on WSIC.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, I guess you could say that we're really locked into those dog days of summer now around Lake Norman. High heat and about all the humidity we can stand. Going to be the story of the next couple of days. High temperatures climbing to the mid-90s. Feels like temperatures heat indices easily in the low 100s the next couple of days. And, of course, each afternoon, we'll keep an eye out for a few of those pop-up thunderstorms. That chance will continue through the end of the work week and on into the weekend. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Listen, save, Enjoy the WSIC app, available now in your app store.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The first Crossroads Fan Expo is Saturday in Statesville. All walks of fandom are invited, with vendors of comics, pop, cards, figures, and much more. The expo begins at 10 a.m. with a costume contest at 2 p.m. Join the Crossroads Fan Expo on Saturday at the Ramada by Wyndham, located at 1215 Gardner Bagnall Boulevard in Statesville. The Jaws 50th Anniversary Retro Beach Party is Saturday at the Oak Street Mill in Cornelius. Come dressed in your best 1970s gear and enter the costume contest. Tickets are available in advance at tickettailor.com and at the door. Search Facebook events for more information. The 50th anniversary of the iconic Jaws film and Retro Beach Party begins at 4 p.m. Saturday at the Oak Street Mill in Cornelius. The next Davidson Concerts at the Circles is on Saturday. The show opens up at 5 p.m., while the headlining act, Shot Through the Heart, the Bon Jovi Experience, plays at 7. Grab your friends and enjoy a free night of live music this Saturday at Davidson's Concerts at the Circle. The 500 Club in Statesville presents live music on Saturday with a performance by Lead Not Follow. Don't miss this 6 p.m. show, featuring the band styles of classic rock, alternative, pop, country, and original music. Visit the 500 Club online for more information on golfing and fun events. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is at Charlotte Motor Speedway for round number 9 on Tuesday, July 22nd. Rep your favorite sports team on the 22nd and receive $5 off admission pricing. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information on the Summer Shootout and other 2025 events. To stay up to date and find out about local events, job opportunities, real estate information, and more, visit liveworkplaylkn.com and sign up for the weekly newsletter. That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter of today's show, football reference. I mean, we like to talk about things. We're financial, right? Economic, yeah, but we talk about some anecdotal kinds of things as well. We got to keep you guys listening. I mean, if I just went through the Federal Reserve Board of Governors meeting notes or meeting minutes, probably would put you right to sleep. At least it would put most of us to sleep. Probably not me to sleep. I kind of like that kind of stuff, but that makes me a little bit weird in that end of things. So we talk about some other things on here, but I'm going to shift a little bit. And we're not going to talk about football here in the second quarter. We're going to talk golf a little bit. And the reason why we're talking about golf is because this week, if you're one who enjoys watching professional golf play, we got the British Open. Now, I know there's probably somebody going to call in, or I'm going to get email from you say it's not the British Open anymore. It is the Open. I get it, just like those folks who went to Ohio State University telling me that it's the Ohio State University. I get it. All right, I'm not trying to offend anybody here, but it is true that it is the Open and it is held in Great Britain. So and for a long time we called it the British Open. It's happening this week, and I'm bringing it up. Yes, I like to watch it. Actually, I really like the soothing notes from Jim Nantz as he announces it over the airwaves because it's good napping kind of space for that. But really why I'm bringing it up here, and certainly why I'm bringing it up here on Dollars and Cents, is talking about the financial aspect of things. I don't know if you've taken a look at the purses, meaning what not just the winner, but where where a lot of the players earned for these major tournaments. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm almost saying it casually, even listening to myself here. I'm saying this like, well, okay, you win, and if you're in the top 10, and it is obviously the probabilities on this are microscopic. They're not even the kinds of things that are reasonable to talk about from a math perspective in terms of not only, of course, even just getting your PGA card, but then getting the opportunity to play in one of the four majors, and then, of course, getting in the top 10, winning it. I mean, it's just infinitesimal. It's a rounding error, and even less than that in terms of what the probabilities are. But still impressive when I was doing some of my due diligence for today's show and taking a look at the Open held in Great Britain, if I can't call it the British Open anymore, that $17 million purse, $17 million that is part of the overall purse. That's not what the winner gets. That's what the overall purse is. Each of those gentlemen who end up in the top 10 at the end of the tournament, so at the end of the day on Sunday, each in the top 10 get over $1 million. Over $1 million being in the top 10. Number one, I mean, think about it. What do you think? I mean, just off the top of your head, get a number in mind there. What do you think is the is the number one is for first place for winning the Open held in Great Britain? $4.3 million. $4.3 million. And again, I started out very intentionally by saying, obviously, the probability of winning the Open. I mean, just being a professional golfer, let alone winning a major, is just so tiny in terms of probabilities. But still, very, very impressive that everybody in the top 10 has at least $1 million, and that does not include ties. So I need to include that as well. So you got 9 people that are tied for 7th place. Not everybody's going to get $1 million, but very impressive that the winner $4.3 million. So whether you're a golf fan or not, folks, that's big money, and that speaks to sponsorships, that speaks to advertising, that speaks to just the intensity of the popularity of the 4 majors there within, because it's not true just for the British. I know the Open held in Great Britain, that's true, but it's true across the board. And I believe still, if my due diligence is correct, I still believe that the Masters may be the most lucrative, may have the biggest purse at this point. Don't quote me on that. Take a look at All Things Google if you want to verify that for me. Give us a buzz here in the studio, 844-STUDIO-4 if I got my data incorrect. But I believe the Masters is still the biggest purse. But $17 million, I mean, that's not chump change. $4.25 million for winning it for 4 rounds of exceptionally good golf there in the British Isles. Not bad either, but obviously a lot that goes into it. So pretty impressive when you look at that kind of thing. By the way, while I was looking at probabilities, and I do this because, okay, I'm in the financial business, and so I was looking at some other probability things when it comes to professional sports. And of course, we like to talk football here on Dollars and Cents. So I took a look at the probability of a high school football player actually playing in the NFL. I mean, crazy stuff. I mean, it's the same in all professional sports, right? We all have visions and dreams, or at least I did at a number of years, that we have visions and dreams playing big time college and then professional kinds of athletics without really having a clue what that actually meant. The probability that I found for a high school football player to be they're playing in the NFL. So I'm not talking about starting. I'm talking about getting a jersey, being on the roster. 0.08%, 0.08%. That if you play football, so I'm not just talking about athletes, or I'm not just talking about students overall, the probability of being in the NFL. I'm talking about actual high school football players. 0.08%. I'm not saying that to be discouraging to any of our high school football players who happen to be listening, or their parents, or anything like that. I'm just talking about how just incredibly challenging that it is, and how thin the air is once you get to that level. I mean, how many exceptionally good players there are, and then to get to the space where out of a pool of exceptionally good players, having the exceptional ones who actually get the opportunity to do it professionally for any measure of time. But certainly if we're talking about golf, or we're talking about football, more of a team sport, it does. The air gets very, very thin very, very quickly. Kind of interesting stuff. We always like to do that a little bit anecdotally here, so let's go ahead and keep running. We were talking bank earnings there at the end of the first segment, and before we went to break there, and talking about 2 big ones in our region. Just on size, can't argue with it. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, kind of a tale of 2 cities, if you will. Not because it's 2 cities here in Charlotte, but because just an outright, outright classical book reference there. But really looking at it in terms of Wells Fargo not being all that positive in terms of their quarterly earnings report. Bank of America almost hitting it out of the park. Got to use a baseball reference there a little bit. And just very, very impressive, not only in the current quarter, but also in the go-forward kind of space. Have to add another one of the big banks. And yes, they are technically considered a bank, and that, again, was a result of the 2008-2009 financial crisis. I've never really thought of them as a traditional FDIC-insured bank, but they technically are, at least for a couple of their business segments, and that's Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs ticker symbol is Green Sally GS. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the debt of Goldman Sachs. Very impressive, and mostly impressive. Have to disclose. The most impressive aspect of the numbers that really jumped off the page for Goldman Sachs, what drove a lot of their margin here this past quarter, not surprising, is in the investment banking end of things. Merger, acquisitions, consulting, extending lines of credit, facilitating other business operations for their clients and other opportunities, and also folks who are looking to invest. So on the private equity end of things, where they make investments in other companies and they're generating fees by that, it's huge business, huge business. Goldman Sachs arguably at the top of the heap there. And when I say arguably, there are a number of players who are at the top of the heap, but certainly in terms of the dollar size of the deals that they do, where they advise, where they are often the funding agents, meaning financing these kinds of deals. Goldman Sachs has to always be in the conversation just based on size. And they just came out with just glowing kinds of quarterly report. And not just in looking at the quarter just passed, which is of course what they're reporting, but also in their go forward. They're looking ahead at the next couple of quarters here. Still very, very optimistic. And as I teased in the first segment there, we're going to be doing this here probably in the third segment. Going to be talking a little bit about just some of the things that we're seeing consumer-wise out there that are not as glowing. And look, make the argument, you can counter certainly what I'm saying here. Say, look, there are always negative things in our economy. Yes, absolutely true. But when we're looking at a number of different data points where the consumer appears to be slowing down a little bit, not saying that they are, but it appears that the consumer is slowing down a little bit, catches my radar screen. And certainly as we can stuff more variables into that algorithm that either support or don't support that, because we're not ignoring the counter variables or those variables that don't support the thesis, but we're rather looking at it in terms of the number of variables which seem to be pointing in a different direction from what we heard again from Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and the like. Now, you can very easily say, well, for the kinds of clients with whom Bank of America is working and Goldman Sachs is working, things are going very well and they expect them to go well. Fair. They don't work with everybody. But I especially look at Bank of America and I look at their number of touch points relative to the consumer. I would think they have a relatively close pulse on where a significant block of consumers are. You can make the argument on Goldman Sachs, they're dealing more with medium to large size businesses. Fair. Not going to argue with that. But with Bank of America, I would expect them to be a little bit more in touch, if you will, just because of their near proximity to consumer, the retail consumer. I mean, I'm talking about savings and loan kind of consumers, those that have deposits, checking accounts, savings accounts, money market accounts, lines of credit, mortgages, et cetera. I mean, they're very, very close to that. On their investment management arm, they certainly have it with the old Merrill Lynch that is a part of their retail wealth management group. So when I'm looking at that and they're being positive, I'm saying, okay, that's good. I certainly want the consumer to be in a strong space, but we're looking at some other data points here and beginning to wonder, okay, how long is this going to last? Because again, there are a number of headwinds. We certainly have higher interest rates than we had here 3, 4, 5 years ago. That's a higher cost of capital. It's more expensive to do business, more expensive to have mortgages, lines of credit, car loans, et cetera. Hit a 25-year high on the default line on car loans, meaning we're at the highest point in terms of the number of defaults, or greater than 90 days past due on their car payments. That's definitely a high. I mean, that's definitely on our radar screen. Now, we got to get other data points to substantiate that we're actually moving in that direction, but it's certainly the kind of thing that we're watching closely, because the consumer, I know, just as I ended the first segment here, consumer, 2/3, 3/4 of our economy. We spend, folks. That's who we are. And so when the consumer slows down their spending, then that definitely has a significant impact, not only on where we are as a country, but also in terms of our growth going forward. Now, we're going to talk more about it in the third quarter. First, we're going to hear from our sponsors. Thanks for hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, I guess you could say that we're really locked into those dog days of summer now around Lake Norman. High heat and about all the humidity we can stand. Going to be the story of the next couple of days. High temperatures climb to the mid-90s. Feels like temperatures heat indices easily in the low 100s the next couple of days. And of course, each afternoon Keep an eye out for a few of those pop-up thunderstorms. That chance will continue through the end of the work week and on into the weekend. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
This is Sheriff Darren Campbell with the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. Every day, scammers are targeting people right here in our community through phone calls, emails, and text messages, trying to steal your money, your personal information, and even your identity. If someone calls claiming to be from a government, a bank, or even law enforcement, demanding money or personal details, stop and think. Legitimate organizations will never ask for gift cards, wire transfers, or your passwords over the phone or email. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Hang up, don't click that link, and never share personal information with someone you don't trust. At the Iredell County Sheriff's Office, we're working to protect our community, and we're proud to partner with WSIC because local starts here, and keeping you informed keeps you safe. Stay alert, stay smart, and don't fall for a scam.
Have you taken the Desco Challenge? The people have spoken. Desco is where the professional goes for electrical supplies.
Hi, my name is Randy. I'm a general contractor, and I always trust the products at Desco.
See for yourself at DescoInc.com.
Yeehaw for rodeo season at Harrison's, the home of work, western, and wow. Whether you compete or cheer from the stands, Harrison has the looks to help you wow the crowd. Get western classics and the latest styles from Harriet, Cinch, Rock and Roll Denim, and Wrangler. Find us in Mooresville.
If you need home medical equipment, call Lowry Drug in Statesville. We have everything you need in stock, including portable oxygen concentrators, CPAPs, masks, lift chairs, wheelchairs, scooters, hospital beds, supplies, and anything else you need. Get it when you need it. Check out LowryDrug.com or call 704-873-2247. Lowry Drug, your hometown source since 1959, across from Iredell Memorial Hospital. We are worth the drive. Come see us.
Are you sick of running out of hot water? Whether it's in the middle of a shower or doing dishes, cold water's never fun. Say goodbye to those surprises with a Rinnai tankless water heater from GMV Energy. This energy-efficient propane-powered solution heats water instantly, so you'll never run out again. Plus, it saves money and frees up space. Propane models start at just $295 after rebates. Visit any G&B Energy location or gbenergy.com to learn more.
Inspire your team and gallop to greatness. Our horses at Willow Equine are outstanding at working with people on leadership and team building skills, perfect for corporate retreats. Visit willowequine.com as you gallop to greatness.
Ready to take control of your weight with real medical support? At Renew Specialty Group, we offer semaglutide, tirzepatide, and now retatrutide with complimentary consultations, personalized plans, and real results. Visit RenewHealthWellnessNC.com. Your transformation starts here.
How's your AC holding up? When it's this hot, it can tax your system. Don't wait for a breakdown on the hottest days of the year. Call Horn Heating and Air Conditioning for a seasonal tune-up today. Welcome home to the feeling of visit hornhvac.com.
The #1 station for people who say we're their favorite station.
WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The nation's largest aluminum producer, Alcoa, is taking a big financial hit due to tariffs. It says the levies on its imports from Canada will cost it $115 million in the second quarter. That's nearly 6 times more than its initial estimate. And the company's CEO says its U.S. customers are now paying significantly more for aluminum than anyone else in the world. Juul Labs is likely breathing easier after apparently getting the okay to sell its e-cigarettes in both tobacco and menthol flavors. According to the Wall Street Journal, the FDA has authorized Juul to keep its product on the U.S. market. The 10th anniversary Broadway performance of Hamilton, the musical based on the life of immigrant Alexander Hamilton, will be a fundraiser for immigrants. Creator Lin-Manuel Miranda says he's hoping the special August 6th show will raise at least $3 million. Heading toward the close, stocks are up between 0.5 and 0.8%. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
No radio? No worries.
Just ask Alexa to play WSIC.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second half of today's show, Football Reference. If you're going to be a 9 to 5er, well, if you're going to be, you probably were before just this moment, 24 minutes, 6 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell. Appreciate so much hanging with us here. Talking on all things economic, financial. We get anecdotal in there as well. We're going to talk. Chances are, we talked a little bit about golf. Right, and we looked at it from a financial standpoint. I feel like I kind of have to do that. But who can turn away from a $17 million purse there for the Open held in Great Britain for all of you purists? And then we're talking about a winner's purse at $4.3 million for the winner. Again, we're talking about low probabilities in terms of just even being able to get a PGA card, let alone being able to play in a major, let alone being able to win. So we're just very, very thin air when we're talking about that kind of stuff. It's the best golfers in the world and big purses now to go along with it. So kind of amazing stuff. We're going to shift a little bit here. We like to talk about sports, football, finance. We're going to talk about another word that starts with F here. Don't get too carried away. Don't want to hear the FCC getting a little bit chatty on. We're talking food. Right, we're talking food here. I'm bringing up one, and I gotta blame my daughters for this, but Crumble cookies. So Crumble, not spelled correctly. I know, just I'm being a little bit funny there. CRUMBL, privately held company. It's actually a couple of cousins that started the company, still own it. Crumble cookie out there, but really why I'm bringing it up is because of some competition now. So this particular entity, this retail distribution source, I have to think has to be among the most well-known brands on the planet. Can't think of too many others that would even be in the same camp. Coca-Cola would be in there, probably. McDonald's would probably in there as far as almost completely ubiquitous name recognition. And I'm talking Walmart. Walmart, obviously publicly traded. William Mary Tom, WMT, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the debt or the equity in the company. But they've come out, private label, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I guess I should really say to the Crumble cookie folks that if Walmart's competing with you, you must be doing something right if they're coming out on the private label side. And very interesting, Walmart's, let's say, competitive offering, King Crumb. Very interesting. Crumble, though, the pure cookie company starts with a C. King Crumb, 2 Ks. K-I-N-G, obviously K-R-U-M-B. Very competing with Crumble cookies. And very interesting to see the style of cookie, very similar to Crumble cookies, and even the offerings. Now, I don't think they have as many flavor offerings as Crumble cookie does. So if you're a Crumble cookie fan, keep saying that repetitively and see how many times your tongue can get tied on doing that. I don't think they have as many flavor offerings, but the word is kind of out there on the interwebs, at least in the due diligence that I was doing, that these cookies are pretty good. I don't know. Here are the 3 flavors that the Walmart's offering in their King Crumb variety end of things. Chocolate chunk. Yep, I could absolutely do chocolate chunk. Absolutely. Triple chocolate. So I guess if one or a single or double chocolate is not enough for you, you can get triple chocolate, which I understand is a chocolate cookie with chocolate chips and chocolate chunks in it. So if you're a chocoholic, definitely something to check out there. And the last one, confetti birthday cake. Now, as far as I could tell, it looked like a vanilla cookie of some kind with some, the sprinkles and the icing kind. So it's very multicolored, which I'm sure is why they called it confetti. So very interesting. Very interesting that Walmart is coming out with this. Now, obviously, it's not their singular focus. They literally have hundreds of thousands of different products that are offered in a retail distribution kind of way through their stores, not only the Walmart namesake stores, but Sam's Club as well. So this is not a unilateral focus, but I found it to be kind of interesting. And I love cookies. Of course, there aren't too many foods that I don't like. Let's call that what it is. I haven't bumped into too many offerings ever. Beets, yes. So pickled beets, definitely not in my high ranking category. I was just trying to think of one quickly. That's really, and it's not. I don't love our beet farmers, or I don't love farm fresh produce and vegetables. I do. But beets, for whatever reason, they kind of turn the wheels in the opposite direction for me. So that might be the only one. But when we're talking about cookies, I don't think I've met a bad one. So I'm definitely going to have to try it out. I mean, I certainly have had enough crumble cookies because of my daughters. So King Crumb, maybe going to have to check that out next time I'm in Walmart. Let's keep going. On the food end of things, talk about this with producer Bill as he was exiting the studio after a very long shift today, starting very early this morning. But talking about what I know they've been talking about on Good Morning LKN for a number of days here, which, by the way, if you haven't done it yet, and I know we all get going in the morning. We kind of have our routine. We get up and maybe you're a shower person, brushing teeth person, which I hope you are, that get your day started. Check out Good Morning LKM, WSIC, 7 and 9. They're 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. You got Justin, Bill, and Mamie every Monday to Friday on there. And don't tell me that you're out of signal range either. I told you how you could avoid that. You don't have to worry about whether you're in the signal range of the radio or not. Just download that WSIC app. Get on the Apple Store, Google Store. Download the WSIC app. It is dummy-proof. I love that thing. It is. I mean, as soon as you open the app after you download it, literally the first thing that you see when you click on the app, big button. You just press that big button, you get the live feed. You get whatever's on at that time. Got over 35 hours of content here at WSIC in terms of local live content every single week. Great reason to do it. So anyhow, I know they were talking. I got to get back to the food end of things because I'm already hungry. You can tell. But getting back, I know they were talking about it on Good Morning LKN, and I'm looking at Wendy's. Wendy's, publicly traded company, by the way, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the debt or the equity. Ticker symbol is very appropriately WEN, W-E-N, Walter Edward Nancy. Not a recommendation again to own it, buy, sell, or hold it. But they have, and again, this I got to blame my daughters again, especially my youngest, for this. Takis on their spicy chicken sandwich. Now, it's not just on the chicken sandwich. It literally is called, which I kind of like, of course, a fuego meal. All right? So, en fuego meal or a fuego meal, spicy chicken sandwich, fuego fries, which my understanding is it's a standard Wendy's fries with a Taki spicy seasoning that's dusted onto them, and then the actual Takis chips. So if you're one who likes these Takis chips, which I've had them a couple of times, and I mean, and I do like them. Now I like spicy things, so that's probably the reason why that I kind of have an affinity for them, and because I like pretty much every snack ever created in the history of the human race. But a spicy chicken sandwich, fuego fries, and Takis. I mean, that's gonna set your innards on fire. I don't care who you are or how much you like spicy food. That's a lot. I'm going to be very interested to see, because it is a publicly traded company, so I do like that we can actually see if they break out what the actual financial impact is on the company for having this collaboration with Takis. I thought it was a very interesting collaboration. And interesting, which I thought also said on Good Morning LKM, here as well, they're only doing it with their chicken sandwich. They're not bringing it out on the hamburger side of things. So I'm sure they probably did some kind of research and data download that said better to have spicy chicken, which, as you know, we've talked about ad nauseum here on Dollars and Cents, the number of fried chicken sandwich options or fried chicken options that we have in terms of retail distribution in this country. It's amazing. We love fried chicken. That includes me in that mix of things. So maybe that's what their data suggested there. But that was kind of interesting that Wendy's did that. So they're coming out with spicy chicken sandwiches and doing it with fuego fries and with Takis chips as well. Great stuff. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going to tease this up a little bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit in the fourth quarter of today's show, and especially as we're talking about markets. Talking about saving for college. We're going to be talking about this over the course of a number of shows here as we get closer to the start of the school year, college year. We're going to be talking about saving for college. It's daunting, folks. The numbers are big. And I'm a straightforward person. I call it as it is, and the numbers are big when we talk about saving for college. And how do you do it? What are your targets? What are the kinds of things that you need to keep in mind? What's a legitimate goal, especially if you have multiple kids? How do you save for all of them to go to college? Do you save at all? Strategically, there are a lot of different ways of coming at it. We're not going to cover them all in today's show, but we're going to begin the conversation. We're going to revisit this over the course of the next several weeks and talking about what it means to save for college. How do you set aside that kind of money? What are the vehicles that are out there and available to you? We're going to be touching on all of it. So make sure, not just for today's show, of course, but for all the ones that follow. We're going to be coming back here in a few moments on Dollars and Cents.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, I guess you could say that we're really locked into those dog days of summer now around Lake Norman. High heat and about all the humidity we can stand. Going to be the story of the next couple of days. High temperatures climb to the mid-90s. Feels like temperatures heat indices easily in the low 100s the next couple of days. And of course, each afternoon, we'll keep an eye out for a few of those pop-up thunderstorms. That chance will continue through the end of the work week and on into the weekend. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The first Crossroads Fan Expo is Saturday in Statesville. All walks of fandom are invited, with vendors of comics, pop, cards, figures, and much more. The expo begins at 10 a.m. with a costume contest at 2 p.m. Join the Crossroads Fan Expo on Saturday at the Ramada by Wyndham, located at 1215 Gardner Bagnell Boulevard in Statesville. The Jaws 50th Anniversary Retro Beach Party is Saturday at the Oak Street Mill in Cornelius. Come dressed in your best 1970s gear and enter the costume contest. Tickets are available in advance at tickettailor.com and at the door. Search Facebook events for more information. The 50th anniversary of the iconic Jaws film and Retro Beach Party begins at 4 p.m. Saturday at the Oak Street Mill in Cornelius. The next Davidson Concerts at the Circles is on Saturday. The show opens up at 5 p.m., while the headlining act, Shot Through the Heart, the Bon Jovi Experience, plays at 7. Grab your friends and enjoy a free night of live music this Saturday at Davidson's Concerts at the Circle. The 500 Club in Statesville presents live music on Saturday with a performance by Lead Not Follow. Don't miss this 6 p.m. show, featuring the band styles of classic rock, alternative, pop, country, and original music. Visit the 500 Club online for more information on golfing and fun events. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is at Charlotte Motor Speedway for round number 9 on Tuesday, July 22nd. Rep your favorite sports team on the 22nd and receive $5 off admission pricing. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information on the Summer Shootout and other 2025 events. To stay up to date and find out about local events, job opportunities, real estate information, and more, visit liveworkplaylkn.com and sign up for the weekly newsletter. That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Fourth quarter, you made it, right? Well, you almost made it. Now you almost made it. You got to the fourth quarter. You haven't sprinted through the finish line yet. Don't want you quit, especially if you're a 9 to 5 or you got 11 minutes, 49 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell. And I appreciate you spending that time here with us as we're giving attention to all things economic, financial. I know, and I've heard from some of you, what does football have to do with finance? Are you kidding me? Have you looked at the NFL? Do you know how much money is involved, billions with the B, when it comes to the football business? That's why we talk. Well, it's sort of why we talk about it. Also because we like to talk about football here on Dollars and Cents. And then I've heard other folks say, "What about food? Why are you constantly talking about the fact that you're hungry?" Well, because A, I am. B, we love food, and food's a huge business. It touches all of our lives. The expense of it, whether we're going to the grocery store, certainly how we dine out as well. Huge. I mean, it's foundational. It's literally societally foundational to what we are, how we spend, where we spend, changing of buying patterns. Gosh, we're seeing that a lot right now, especially in the grocery business. That we're seeing that the change in the buying patterns, where folks are spending their money. And the challenges that come with it, the more expensive aspects of the grocery store experiences. How do you buy, what you buy, how much do you buy, how often do you buy it, all in that mix of things. So it's one of the reasons, although it's, yes, I know, it's mostly self-serving, but it's important business, and that's why we talk about it. So thanks for the indulgence, a little bit anecdotal and hopefully a little fun and puts a smile on your face as well. Right before we went to break there at the end of the third quarter, I said that we were going to just talk briefly here today, but really maybe more importantly, because we're going to give some additional segments to it in future shows, talking about what it means to save for college. Now, it's different for everybody. First of all, not everybody's going to college. Talk about that, and that's important. And this isn't an implication that everybody should go to college. Certainly not what we're saying here at all. Really why we're bringing it up, it's one of the big financial planning items that we have at North Main Financial Group, helping young families to think about, and sometimes even retirees as they're thinking about their grandchildren, or near retirees thinking about their grandchildren. What does it mean to save for college. And I'm going to start out with something that you're actually going to hear me say quite a bit as we're going through this series here over the next several weeks, that it is a very, very individual kind of decision. And I say that because when we're talking about saving for college, obviously every family is different. You hear me say that a lot here on dollars and cents because every family is different. Everybody, and I'm not just talking about means, I'm talking about in terms of what they believe their responsibilities are from a financial aspect for the possibility of future college expenses. Let me put it to you just in very distinct ways. We have a number of clients at North Main Financial Group who believe it's their responsibility to be able to pay for all of the college expenses of all of their children. And that means if they go to in-state tuition all the way to private school at the highest ends of the financial commitment bracket, that's their responsibility. Then we have a number of clients as well at the absolute opposite end of that who say something to the effect of, you know what, I worked my way into business, or I worked my way through college. My children can do the same, and a little bit more of a swim on your own kind of thought process. This is not an advocation in either direction of those, because we also have third group, a whole bunch of folks who are somewhere in between, who want to be able to help with some college savings, may or may not be able to cover all of the expenses, either due to means or just the possibility of saving, or because it's just the costs just continue to grow exponentially for the college experience. So a whole bunch of folks in the middle. So this is not advocacy in one way or the other. It's certainly not to say that everybody should go to college. Certainly not saying that either. But because it is such a prominent part of the planning process, especially for young families, when we're looking at what it means to save for college, we're bringing it up here. So we thought we'd just make a little mini series of it. We're going to touch on it here over the next number of weeks. We thought, kind of in the middle of summer. I know kids are saying it's still summer break. Stop talking about school. I get it. I mean, I certainly understand. But the time to plan is before you need it. Right? It's not time to plan when it already happens. That's too late at that point. So the time to plan is before you actually need it, and especially if you have a little bit of a runway between the now and the time that you're planning and when the time that planning actually then comes to fruition in terms of, in this case, the expenditures that come with the college experience. So talking about it just in terms of the numbers, you know the numbers as well as I do. It's a very different environment out there, depending upon whether you look at, I'm just talking macro here. That's really how we're going to set it up today. That when we're looking at the college experience, there are in-state options, meaning in-state public institution options, which are relative to other options are less expensive, right? Still all very expensive, no matter what you touch on. I mean, everything. When we're looking at the college experience, community college, four-year institution, trade school, I mean, they're all very expensive. At least in my world, they're very expensive. But you have that on one end of the spectrum, expense-wise, and then you have on the other end of the spectrum what traditionally are private institutions. So they may not receive much, if any, funding, or as much, perhaps, funding from the federal and state governments. That their expenses are sometimes geometrically higher. So it is possible in some instances to have an in-state tuition be $7,000 and a private school in the same state to be north of $70,000 per year per child. So we're talking about gargantuan numbers. We're talking about, I mean, that's a big stretch. So from a planning standpoint, how do you combat that? Well, again, we're going to be talking about that here on future shows. A little bit of a teaser. I want you to hang around for those future shows that we're going to be talking about this kind of thing, because it's a big deal, especially if you're inclined to save for your child's possible future college expenses. How do you get to that goal? What are the kind of vehicles that you can use? What kind of investments are appropriate? How do you think about, okay, if that's still a long ways out? We just saw a newborn at lunch today in the restaurant where we were having a lunch meeting, and 2-week-old baby there. I mean, okay, you still got a runway. You got 18 years basically in that kind of space. All right, well, that's one mode of thought about, okay, what do you do with that kind of time frame? But what if your child is 15 years old and you're just a couple of years away? How do you think about that? What's most appropriate? We're going to get into some of the college financing end of things, where you look for scholarships and grants, all that kind of stuff. We're going to get into a lot of it here. So that's a little bit of a tease up. Just want you to hear that from me. But most importantly today is we're teeing that up in a macro kind of sense. Very, very important. Very important that you understand that it is an individual decision. There's no metric. There's no mandate that sits out there. I understand most folks have a desire one way or the other, or see their responsibility in one way or the other. There's nothing at all wrong with that. But there is no mandate, and it's very, very different. The numbers are very different depending upon where you focus. We're going to be talking more about it. All right, let's pivot. Got to get to markets here a little bit. I know I always say we're going to talk about it in the fourth quarter, so I'd like to be able to do that. Want to talk First, I teased up a little bit in our our 3 earlier segments, talking about where the consumer is, and I alluded to it a little bit. You've heard us talk a little bit on previous shows here. I don't want to call it concern. We're not at that point yet, but definitely there are some differing variables in the algorithm of what defines the consumer in our economy right now, which are indicating that the consumer overall is slowing down a little bit. And I'll say that at this point, that the consumer is just not able to spend at the same levels as they have been doing in our most recent past here. So when I'm saying that, again, I'm not seeing red lights. I'm not seeing the kind of the consumer stopping. I'm not seeing the proverbial economic cliff. I'm not seeing that right now. But I am seeing instances where the consumer is definitely starting to slow down. I mentioned grocery stores. One of the things that we're seeing is a change overall in buying habits at the grocery store. And I'm talking macro. It may not be true for you. It may not be true at a particular grocery store chain. I mean, all of those. I'm talking macro. I'm talking about for us as a country. Generally speaking, we're starting to see where the consumer is shifting from more expensive options in the grocery store to less expensive options, or like kind sort of things that maybe are less expensive. I'm going to use one because it's one of the favorites of my daughters, and that's macaroni and cheese in a box. Yep, and I'm sure I know a lot of you like macaroni and cheese in a box, and they're all different kinds. I mean, golly, I was at one of our local grocery stores here recently, and I try not to do that too often, but I'm walking up and down the aisles just to kind of get a flavor for, no pun intended, flavor for where things are, and I was in the aisle that had boxed macaroni and cheese. Folks, I don't know if you probably do know. There are a lot of options out there for boxed macaroni and cheese. And as I was looking at them, of course, because I do this, because I'm a little bit weird, that I was looking at the differences in the price points. So you have, let's call it more name brand style sort of stuff that is a higher price point, the more of the private label or more generic brand of macaroni and cheese. That was at a significantly lower price point. And what we're seeing in a macro kind of sense is we're seeing increased buying. Not every, I'm not even saying that's true for just mac and cheese. I'm talking about for any number of different things where there are choices. We're starting to see an increase in buying at the less expensive end of the spectrum for like kinds of things, like boxed macaroni and cheese, which you have to put, the macaroni in the boiling water and mix in the cheese element, whether it's dust or cheese sauce. So when we're looking at that again, one small element, one small item, but we're seeing it across the board where there are like-kind replacements for more expensive options. That's one of the things. The other thing I mentioned, again, in an earlier segment here, was talking about where car loans are right now, 25-year high in terms of delinquencies on car loans, or those which are greater than 90 days past due. That's also in the mix. Definitely has to be in the mix. Also, seeing a slowdown in terms of where folks are buying cars or how much they're spending on cars. Another big one that's out there, and this variable starting to hit a little brighter, a little hotter in the algorithm. Homes and mortgages, specifically weekly mortgage demand down about 10% year over year right now. Builders dropping prices in terms of their new builds, the most that they have in 3 years. About 38%, roughly a third of new home builders have had to cut their prices here over the course of 2025. Builder confidence, so how builders, and I'm talking big builders, these massive builders. I'm looking at KB Homes kind of thing, Pulte, large national builders. Confidence down 15 months in a row, meaning that there are a couple of metrics out there that measure the confidence of our residential builders, and that's been in a negative space for over a year now. So we're watching that kind of thing. In addition to cars and car buying, spending at grocery stores, we're putting all those things into the proverbial algorithm. And actually, it's not proverbial; it's actually a real algorithm that we use, and trying to get a handle in the best ways we can on the consumer. So when we hear what we heard earlier from Bank of America, and then what we're seeing in some other things, as is often the case, it's a little bit muddled right now. We have some conflicting data. And none of it is actually unilaterally the direction source, but all of it put together does give some indication. So we're going to talk more about that here over the next couple of weeks, but I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Our time today is drawing to a close, but I hope you'll tune in with us next week, 4 o'clock, here on WSIC, as again, we take a look at all things economic and financial, Dollars and Cents.